In the face of harsh criticism, Trump surrenders and signs executive order to keep families together. The Dow Jones Industrial Average turned negative as global trade war fears mount. The European Union will launch counter-trade tariffs on the US on Friday, and Canada legalizes recreational cannabis use. Hello and welcome to today's edition of Mexico News Network's Breaking News Business. I'm Elliot Bullman. Let's go to the information. Amid fury and outrage from Mexico's foreign minister, the world's business leaders, the Pope, and even his own wife, President Trump has finally surrendered and signed an executive order promising to keep families together. Mexico's foreign minister, Luis Videgaray, had urged the international community not to remain indifferent to the policy, which also drew criticism from former and current First Ladies Laura Bush and Melania Trump, the United Nations, and prominent Republicans such as Arizona Senator John McCain. The policy keeps in place key components of the administration's zero-tolerance policy of prosecuting illegal border crossings along the US-Mexico border. While the administration will continue prosecuting crimes of improper entry, the administration will maintain family unity, including by detaining alien families together where appropriate and consistent with law and available resources, according to the order's text. Since the implementation of the policy, Mexican authorities, as well as global business leaders and Pope Francis, had added their voices to the chorus condemning the Trump administration's separation of children from their parents at the southern US border, calling the policy cruel, inhumane, and racist. Foreign Minister Luis Videgaray referred to one case involving a 10-year-old girl with Down syndrome as particularly painful. He said the girl and her brother were sent to a U.S. facility in McAllen, Texas, while her mother went to one an hour away in Brownsville. Videgaray said the Mexican government was aware of 21 Mexican children who have been separated from parents. 7 are still in U.S. detention. First Lady Melania Trump has been applying pressure to her husband behind the scenes in recent days to drop the policy. White House officials have told the U.S. media this, and also House Republicans have also said the president was also urged by his daughter Ivanka to end the practice. The radical measure had gained such rejection that on Wednesday, American Airlines, United Airlines, and Frontier Airlines said they didn't want their planes used by the U.S. government to transport the migrant children. They said Trump's response is that he doesn't want the children to be taken away from parents, but added that it's necessary to prosecute the parents for crossing into the country illegally. Moving on. Global markets shuddered this week after President Donald Trump threatened tariffs on billions of dollars worth of goods from China, putting the world's largest economies on the brink of a trade war. Trade tensions between the US and China are soaring after the Trump administration said it was ready to hit Beijing with tariffs on $200 billion worth of goods. China's Commerce Ministry warned it would retaliate. Trump said that could result in another round of US tariffs, altogether threatening $400 billion worth of Chinese goods. Losses on the Dow thrust the index into negative territory for the year, with firms that do business in China, such as Boeing, driving the index's 6th day of declines. General Electric, the last original member of the Dow Jones Industrial Average since the stock market measure was introduced in 1896, was dropped from the blue chip index late on Tuesday and replaced by the Walgreens Boots Alliance drugstore chain. The removal of General Electric, which will formally occur on June the 26th, reflects a shift in the economic composition of the United States, which long ago tilted away from heavy industry and towards services such as technology, finance, and healthcare. More gloom is expected for the markets for the remainder of this week, as Russia is also pushing back on U.S. tariffs. Russia's economic minister, Maxim Oreshkin, said Moscow would roll out and import duties on U.S. road building machinery in response to the Trump administration's tariffs on imports of steel and aluminium. Following on from this story, the European Union will launch its own raft of retaliatory tariffs against US exports on Friday, a top official has said. The move comes as after US President Donald Trump imposed steep duties on steel and aluminium earlier this month. American exports such as blue jeans, motorbikes and bourbon whiskey will be targeted, according to Trade Commissioner Cecilia Malmstrom. However, she said the bloc didn't want to be in this position, but the unilateral and unjustified decision of the United States to impose steel and aluminium tariffs on the EU means that the bloc is left with no other choice. Brussels drew up the list of products in March when Mr. Trump initially proposed the 25% tariffs on steel imports and 10% on aluminium, which also target Canada, Mexico, and other close US allies. Cranberries, orange juice, sweet corn, and peanut butter are among the other goods targeted. Many of the products the EU has in its sights are specifically chosen to have maximum political effect. Bourbon whiskey is produced in Kentucky, the state of Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Orange juice is a key export for Florida, a swing state in the US elections. Meanwhile, economists have warned the US metal tariffs could lead to higher metal costs, disrupt supply chains, and even get passed onto US households. Last week, the International Monetary Fund warned that the Trump administration's protectionist policies are likely to hurt the US economy and undermine the world's trade system. IMF Director Christine Lagarde said a trade war would lead to losers on both sides and have a serious impact. In other news, Canada has passed a landmark law that legalizes the recreational use of marijuana nationwide. The Cannabis Act passed its final hurdle on Tuesday in a 52-29 vote in the Senate. The bill controls and regulates how the drug can be grown, distributed, and sold. Canadians will be able to buy and consume cannabis legally as early as this September. The country is the first in the G7 to legalize the drug's recreational use. The bill will likely receive royal assent later this week, and the government will then choose an official date when the law will come into force. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau tweeted that until now, it's been too easy for our kids to get marijuana and for criminals to reap the profits. The government is expected to give the provinces and territories, as well as municipalities, 8 to 12 weeks to set up new marijuana marketplaces. The decision to legalize recreational use of marijuana in Canada comes as global trends shift away from criminal prohibition of the widely used drug. And finally, let's review the markets. The Mexican peso increased 0.03% to 20.35 from 20.35 in the previous trading session. On the other hand, the IPC Mexico increased 0.58% to 46,759 from 46,488 in the previous trading session. This was all for today. Thank you for your company. I'm Elliot Bullman. Remember to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+, and log on to MexicoNewsNetwork.com for more information on Mexico and the world. Until next time.
Síguenos en nuestras redes sociales. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, solo por México News Network Televisión.